So we're going to start off by Cassandra kind of giving a little bit of background about kind of who you are and kind of your most recent role at CJ & Go. We'll kind of get into some more questions, but why don't you give everybody kind of a flavor of kind of where you came from?
Sure. So really, to sum it up, I'm a serial entrepreneur, and so I've spent my career, I spent over 10 years. I had my own boutique consulting firm, and I went to small to mid-sized service businesses and I did turnaround projects and helped them to build their companies. If they were looking for growth, I would help them grow, expand offices, things like that, or if they wanted to start a new business. Did a lot of work in healthcare and technology, and so did that for over a decade. And then part of what I saw a few problems while I was doing that. So the first problem I saw was in healthcare, and it was in the software space of healthcare. And I saw that things weren't being implemented correctly. Some of the very top softwares that were being sold to doctors were subpar and were not meeting the needs that they had. But gosh, they had an amazing sales team and really and market share, and so that's where the doctors went and drifted to. So I created a company that did that sold and implemented software to medical practices and hospitals, and so I did that for a while. And then as with any partnership, sometimes the other side doesn't do what they're supposed to. So I ended up selling the company back to him and then went back to my consulting. So the next problem that I solved from that, so that was an amazing experience. So then I went back to consulting and looking for more problems because so the next company that I built, it was called Calgistics. And so with Calgistics, what I found is in small businesses, small to mid-sized businesses, they can lose a lot of money just over the phone, right? You spend so much money on the lead, so much money getting the phone to ring to be able to get those customers to call. And many times they'll hire someone and pay them $12 an hour to answer the phone. And this was a lot in plastic surgery, legal offices, things like that. So you get someone paid $12, $15 an hour answering the phone and lose the lead that costs you how much to be able to get. So what the process that I found was that I would record the calls and then be able to give feedback to the individual salespeople to be able to help them improve over the phone, because we had the recordings of the calls. I would take the calls, work through them, and basically play back the call for them and ask them the questions. So how do you think the customer felt when you said, oh, I wouldn't like that at all? All right. So it just really helped them almost coach themselves by letting them listen back. And so there's a lot more to that. But we use.
Let me ask a question. Yes. So was that it's more commonplace now, obviously, recording calls and using it as training and feedback. Was it very common then? Was that kind of a pioneering way to provide training?
Right. It was. I started doing that back in like 06, 07 is when I had started doing that, and then I just evolved it. So where the company evolved to was using speech-to-text analytics to be able to guide which calls would actually be evaluated and trained on, because listening to all the calls to find a bad one to help coach on, that's time-consuming and inefficient. And so we use speech-to-text analytics and then some scorecards to be able to get some scoring to be able to help then gauge the employees against each other, know who were the superstars and who weren't. And so that was a really exciting company.
How many calls are we on, right, where it says this call may be monitored for quality? You're like, they never choose the calls that you make, right? It's never the ones that can really help someone learn. It's always the fun ones, the easy ones. But
right.
It's the next person who gets help.
Exactly, right. Right.
Yeah, and by analyzing the text of those calls, you're able to find the bad ones. If customers cursing, if there's there's so much, so much. But it really helps to be able to use data to be able to guide your decisions. And so that's Calgistics. I unfortunately had to sell that to my husband in my divorce. So
it's a whole other panel. It's a
whole other panel. So then right about that time of having to go through that personal time, I then had the opportunity with CJ & Go. And someone had called me and said, hey, they're doing something cool and you've got to be a part of it. They need you really bad. I'm like, okay. It was all under the radar at that point. No one was talking about it. So I met with who became, the founder, and I became a co-founder of CJ & Go. He, presented the vision of let's help women to be able to have a safer ride. And so, so his daughter basically brought up this point. She wanted to take an Uber home from a Lakers game. He was like, yeah, there's no way in the world. And she says, that's not fair. And she's right. Why can't she move around freely when a man can? And so so a little debate ensued, and she says, why can't women just drive women, Dad? And entrepreneurial mind that he had, and said, let's research. Nobody was doing it. So, let me see if I could put a team together. And he happened to have the resources to at least get it started, and called me up and said, let's do this. Yeah. And the part of the company that I saw so powerful is there's the safety of women traveling, but on the other side, on the driver's side, was creating a safe environment for women to access the sharing economy, where currently in the ride-hail space, basically, think about it, as a woman, you're in a moving, isolated environment that you're asking a stranger to come into the car. And now you have to go somewhere. And so, and you're sitting in the seat. Things can happen, and they do happen. And so it doesn't happen every time, doesn't even happen the majority of the time. But when it does, there are uncomfortable moments, and there's distressing moments and horrible moments that happen. And so from that, let's create a solution to be able to solve that problem, giving women a chance to be able to make money without being afraid. I mean, I can't tell you how many Uber and Lyft female drivers that just tell me, they're like, well, I won't drive at this time or that time. And
I don't think I've ever even had a female driver. Every Uber I've taken has always been a male driver. Now that you mention it.
Yeah. Or I keep I keep some sort of weapon in my car. I keep mace just to go to work, just to make some money, and that is unacceptable. And so that was the part that was the really big passion part for me, was being able to give women this freedom and flexibility. And so we started and we built CJ & Go, and then we ceased operations in January.
Yeah, why don't you kind of talk about some of the opportunities and things that went well, and then maybe some surprises or challenges that you also encountered along the fundraising path.
Sure. So we stopped operations in January because I wasn't able to attract enough capital, and so. Oh, that's a whole nother conversation. Yeah, exactly. That's a whole segment on
So then if you have $10 million just burning a hole in your pocket, let us know.
Yeah. And so, but leading up to that, so I'll rewind a little bit. And so it was really exciting, super exciting. We created a brand that really resonated with the community. We created an offering that was really bringing the drivers an opportunity to be able to earn income, not just when they were driving, but also by promoting the brand. So they would get a percentage of revenue for everyone that they brought to the platform, as long as they remained on the platform as a driver. So it's a way to keep the drivers continuing to work, and also to be able to give them an additional revenue stream that built over time, because that's something that was really important to me. And so so that's what we did. Got great press, national press across the board. Really, we launched in Orange County. We did our beta launch was September 2016, and we moved forward. The challenges that we had. So how many of you have ever been involved in a startup? Okay. How many have had to be involved in a startup that wasn't self-funded, or just you and your partners funding it, where you had to go out and get investors? Okay, all right. So so there's some appreciation in this room for what that takes. So what happened? So we had, at the time that we launched, we had raised about $1.8 million. So to put that in contrast, so Uber and Lyft, the guys and the big guys, by that point, they had already raised so much money. I mean, just billions and billions and billions of dollars. And so we're just starting in a small little market. We didn't need billions of dollars, but we did need more than what we had attracted so far. So if I were to say mistakes, biggest mistake was launching before we had secured the money. We had so much attention, so much attraction. Investors should have put the money in so that we could have the traction we needed to be able to go. But decision was made. I was COO at the time, and wasn't my. But It's what was decided. So we decided, gosh, the market's hot for it. Everybody wants it. We need to launch right now. We'll get the money. So the money didn't come. So we went until December spending on marketing like you should spend to be able to do this kind of launch. But then there wasn't enough, and the money that was expected didn't come in. So then it's like, okay, now we have to go pull back on development, pull back on marketing, pull back on everything while we attract the money. That doesn't work, right? Because now they're like, where's your numbers? Where's your numbers? It's like, well, we spent $500 on marketing, and and so we, the numbers weren't quite there. We didn't have the money to back it, and so we had another challenge. The original founder, the father, had called these personal challenges. You can Google what happened, but the SEC was involved, and really, not my company, but his wealth management company, and so it created some problems in raising money as well because he was still on the capital.
I was going to ask you if you and he were both out there kind of on a road show trying to raise money, or if it was mainly just you.
Well, in the beginning, fundraising wasn't my job.
Okay.
It was my job was to get the tech together, to get the operations together. I was the COO, so my job was to build the company and the infrastructure and the team and just get everything going internally. And then him and the previous CEO, that was their job, was to raise the money. And so, but then that didn't come, and so things happen in startups. The previous CEO was asked to go, and we continued. So basically, by December, I said, "Wow, there's a problem here. We're not raising the money. I have to start looking at this because I'm like, there's a problem. I have to look into this." He goes, "Oh, here." I took a look and go, "Oh, I've never raised money before, and things are messed up." So what do you do when you don't know? You call someone who does. So I reached out to my network, and there's a gentleman named Mark Tyson, seasoned entrepreneur. He's, CJ & Go was the 7th startup. Sat down with him at lunch to ask him to be an advisor, and said, here's what we're doing. This is what's going on. He's like, I love it. I'll join the team. I was like, yes, that's awesome. So he came on board, and he took a look. He's like, whoa, we got a lot of work to do here. And so then he came on as president and reworked a lot of the stuff. And it was a much bigger challenge than we had expected. So it took from January until May until we were even able to offer investment at that point. So there was just so much cleanup. And at that time, we then had to remove the original founder from the board, from the executive team, from everything. So
wow.
A lot of challenges going on while operating on a lean budget.
Yeah, almost a startup turnaround.
Yes.
Yeah. Fix things that weren't working, but you were still in startup mode at the same time.
Fixing the fundraising documents and everything.
Right,
It was that I learned so much. Gosh, I learned so much. And so we were able to raise some money by May. We had the docs, everything in order. The cleanup was done. Had a reboot of all of the staff. It was just complete reboot. So we brought in some money, brought in about $500,000, and said, okay, now we have $500,000. This will give us runway to raise the rest of the money. So by the summer, it became clear. They had talked about making me CEO since they let the other one, and I was like, oh, am I willing to do that? Is that, given everything, am I willing to do that? But by the summer, it just became clear that if I didn't take that role, the company was going to go down because they needed me to go and try and fundraise.
And were there other advisors in addition to, I think Mark was
Mark?
So other advisors that had been seasoned entrepreneurs that were giving you guidance about how to maybe get this turned around and raise the money?
Sure, yeah. So one of our board members, his name is Yam. This guy's wonderful. Love him. He helped on some firms. He put together a group to raise that next 500, and then I also reached out to. I'd read a book on fundraising. It's called Pitch Anything, and I ended up I'm like, I can't do that. He had some very masculine techniques that were being presented. I'm like, I can't do that. And so I just reached out to him on the internet. I'm like, hey, read your book. I want to talk. This is what I'm doing. So he was like, yeah, hey, let's meet. So he gave me some coaching and guidance. But really, when it boiled down to the fundraising, the investors couldn't get over the challenges with the original founder. I mean, that's really where we ended up. And if you think about where your money is, if someone with challenges with the SEC, no matter what really happened, we never really know. No matter what happened, the optics are terrible, absolutely terrible. So I took the reins of CEO in August, and it's like, okay, now you go raise the money. And this gentleman gave me a list of VCs and everything, but I reached out to 300 different ones, wrote emails, gave phone calls. I mean, just I'm finding someone who's going to fund this. They go, wow, great idea. Yeah, no. I mean, I got just.
I'm curious. So we always read about how few women CEOs there are out there, and how much is even fewer women venture capitalists as well, right? So of the 300 that you reached out to, I'm curious, what percentage were women?
Well,
that were potential investors.
3. It was really small how many were women, but also how many meetings did I get from those? Yeah. How many meetings? No one actually heard my pitch. Not one actually took I had one bigger firm in San Francisco say, yes, we want to, we'll fly you out. Let's do this. I'm super excited. Like, let's go. And then the Friday before, I get a call from his assistant saying, yeah, we're not going to invest in Right Hill. Sorry, bye. Like, wow. Yeah. So it was that was really challenging. It's the hardest sales job ever, right? You're selling a dream. You're out there, and and that's what you're doing, and you're selling, and it's a numbers game. But gosh, those numbers didn't work out. There's only so many opportunities, and when you can't get the meeting, that's hard. So I go, okay, well, these people didn't know me from anyone, so let's try a new approach, right? I'm learning here. This is my first time raising money. So the new approach is every single person I meet, hi, I'm raising money and I'm looking for warm introductions. and so that got me a lot more meetings. It really got me so many more meetings.
What kind of grassroots effort as opposed to the more traditional route?
Yeah. So I got more meetings. We were able to raise some more money, and we got some interest with some pretty big investors through that. I'm raising money. How can you, right? Just the grassroots, because really, when you know someone, it's so much easier if you get that introduction. Just think about it. You want to take that meeting. They get approached by so many people. So many people are trying to raise money, and how do you get cut through the noise except for a warm introduction? Right. Yeah. And so, I don't fault the VCs for it. It's just the nature of the structure, right? It's just a structural issue as opposed to people not wanting to invest in women. Right. Yeah.
Okay. And had you thought about the route of crowdfunding? Was that ever discussed?
So that was discussed. So that had been batted round and round. Okay. So on a couple different types of crowdfunding. So there's crowdfunding where it's the crowd and you give them something for giving you money, right? And usually those are products that are able to raise money that way. You have a product, you're like, oh, hey, we're going to build this great product, and when we raise this much money, then we'll be able to manufacture this product and ship you these things, right? I mean, that's basically the model, is prepay in advance, right. And then we'll give you stuff, right? And so with a service, it was really challenging to see how could we raise that money. And then there's limits on how much you're able to raise as well with that. So then the second option is equity crowdfunding, right? And so with the equity crowdfunding, there's a bit more rules attached to it, but there's also a lot of risk. The more people that you add to your cap table, then the more risk that you're taking on, and the less sophisticated the investor, and usually when people are only putting in $10,000, they are a less sophisticated investor, even if they're an accredited investor, then you open yourself up to more risk for suits and things of that sort, just because they don't fully understand the risk that they're taking on with a high-risk startup. And so, so it's those were some of the things we were raising.
Can I interrupt?
Yeah, please go ahead. Sorry, yes.
So
when I hear that the business model apparently was pretty good. I mean, everybody believed in this business model.
Mm-hmm.
But when I look at the competitor environment, I see a very high barrier of entry. I mean, compared to your competitor, and I see also a very high power from the buyers too, because they have a choice right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you think there was maybe a problem at the beginning of the adventure from the CEO that created this company of doing a concrete business analysis and really understand that it's not only money you need, because if the business model is great, but there's no customer to buy it, it's not going to work. So you can raise as much money as you can, but you're competing with billions of dollars across from you. So do you think maybe there was more time to spend into analyzing the business itself before
So we did a lot of analysis. I ran strategy sessions, we did market analysis, we did full analysis, and what we were able to find is there was room in the market for people who did not want to take Uber and Lyft, that really wanted to be able to have a female-only driver. There absolutely room in the market, and it really is the people who are most affected by this are seniors and teens. Those are the ones that really, the most vulnerable are the ones that truly need this in the market. And those were our most regular customers. So, but you bring up a good point in terms of the optics of the investor. So if the investor won't take a meeting because they say Uber's going to kill you, Uber is an amazing competitor, they're going to kill you. I got that a lot. And so they didn't understand. So if we have, if you map markets, right, there's usually some sort of quadrant, right? And so Uber and Lyft are kind of taking, they're taking a certain space. This space right here, the scheduled rides, and the relationships, which is how Jane does things different, scheduled and relationships, with that segment, it's not being touched in a meaningful way at all. And that is what our customer base was asking for. That is what they want. And so there is room in the marketplace for not an Uber Me Too. When we started out, we started as Uber Me Too, and you're right. Once we got more market feedback and really got close to our customers, and we saw the data and we analyzed the data, we saw that really the place that we were excellent at were scheduled rides and relationships, because we allowed women to ask for their favorite driver, to request their favorite driver and have a regular driver. And so with women, one of the things that really matters is, we have our nail gal, our hair gal, well, why not have your driver, right? And so because we love relationships, we love seeing the same people over and over, and sometimes it's just uneasy where you always have a stranger picking you up. And so that's the part of the market that we ended up really focusing on, but it was just too late, and to be able to get that message in front of investors, or to be able to get them to sit down to listen to that differentiator. And so, but you're all right. That was the impression of the investors. Uber's going to kill you. It's like, wait, we're not even competing with. I didn't see them as a competitor.
Yeah, sure.
It's not. I mean, definitely the investors they just want to see that, and they just see Uber. But it's just that the business model idea is amazing. It's great, and definitely there is something. But how much money do you need to interest people? And were you local at the beginning?
So we're Orange County only.
Okay.
We're Orange County only, and this was our test bed, right? So you build the model, you do the research, you find everything, and then there's real life, right? And so that's why this was our beta market. This is where we were testing it out. This is where we were finding out what that differentiator really was going to be and what the market really wanted.
Brand messaging, yeah,
right? Exactly. And so that's what over time we found. But the timing's everything. Yes.
I was just with my daughter in Oregon looking at colleges, and one of the things that they had talked about is they didn't have Uber up there, and that University of Oregon had created their own
network.
And so I was thinking maybe starting it with a smaller platform like colleges, especially maybe in a state like Oregon, where they're like, we don't want Uber here, we don't let them operate here, might be.
And I'm curious, to that point, what is the biggest drain of money? Is it the marketing, or is it the insurance? Where's the money deployed? Yeah.
Insurance is very pricey, and California has very stringent rules on the insurance. Building out the technology and getting it, so we had the technology where you can get a ride from point A to point B. We had that developed. It worked. It's great. But there's the next level technologies that would help to balance the two market economies. That's part of the problem, is the two market economies. You got to make sure that drivers are incented to be on the road when the maximum number of riders are on the road, or on the scheduled rides focus. You need to make sure that the drivers are incented to take the short rides and the long rides, right? So what makes them want to take a short little ride that they're going to make $5? It's like, do I really want to? Oh, no, I don't want to. But there's some mechanisms that you can put in place that will help to be able to balance that. But that takes technology, and and that's some of the next step that we needed to put in. But the technology, huge cost. Marketing is another one, being able to get enough riders on there, and the incentives between that and insurance. I mean, that's really where the money was spent.
And so actually my dad is an Uber driver in Phoenix. And so one of the things about Uber is that you can have an XL ride, right? So if you have a bigger vehicle, you're incented to do that. And he says that even though, and he's a huge numbers freak, so he analyzes everything under the sun, but he focuses on the fact that even though 30% of his rides are XL, 68% of his revenue is from XL. So to your point of being kind of the incentivized, to do that and have the right kind of rides, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the fundraising, you got about 20% or so of what you needed, right? Because you needed around 10, you got 1.8.
Right. So 10 would have gotten us where we're at a point where the VCs, where we could have proven the traction, gotten the technology where it needed to be, gotten enough of the riders, had enough money for the marketing to get the rider level that we needed, and the driver level. Because it also costs to onboard drivers. We have to background check them, we have to screen them, we have to train them. I mean, there's a lot to do. And so 10 would have gotten us to a point where we would have been able to get the next round to be able to take us either across California. And I mean, really, my number is, if I had $20 million, I could create the company to a point where it's ready for acquisition. That would come from another company that has the resources to take it across the country. But I could create a regional brand that could turn to profitability if someone didn't acquire us with $20 million. But weren't able to attract it. I did have, as I was talking about before, circling back, had in December, I had 2 conversations with people interested in giving me that $20 million. And so one was a tech billionaire type, young kid though, about 28. I mean, gosh, he was precious. We had some fun conversations, but really when it boiled down to it, he goes, I like this is great, but you need to change the model. It needs to be women drivers, period. They should drive men, they should drive women. You have a woman driver business. And I'm like, that breaks everything. That breaks everything that we're doing. You will lose all of the drivers.
That's tough. So if you want, here's the money, but to get that money, you got to change your whole model around. You got to stay true to what your brand is.
Well, and I couldn't take that money in good conscience because the business would break. I would not be able to achieve anything on that model. So I had to go, okay, thanks, bye. So then the next one was a gentleman, a private wealthy individual, and he saw the vision and everything, and we're talking, I'm thinking, like, this is awesome. He's like, yeah, we'll put the money in. We've gone through diligence with this money guy. We're going through, and this is the conversation just before I had to shut down. So, we're having the conversation basically. So I shut down on a Tuesday. So the Wednesday before, he's talking about the board members that we're going to put on. I got such high level. Oh, this person and this person, we'll put them on the board. We'll give you this money. This is where we'll have the building. Like, I mean, these are buy signs, right? It's like, you're salespeople. These are buy signals. And, he's like, okay, we're finishing the diligence, going through. His money guy's like, yeah, this is looking really good. This is great. We'll have, we'll have our offer and money, we'll have the offer by Friday. So Friday comes, he goes, wow. I talked to the money guy, not the guy. He goes, he got slammed in meetings all day. People are here from out of the country. Right, okay, all right, so let's talk over the weekend. We're almost done. I'm going to have to call it if this doesn't come through, and they know this. And they were going to get a bargain, like absolute bargain. And the weekend goes, nothing. Monday comes, and I get in touch with the money guy. I'm like, okay, what's going on? He goes, well, I haven't heard back from him, so to me, that's a ain't gonna happen. And it's like, oh, so and you know, we
over 5 days you go from elation and this is gonna fly, it's gonna be great to
yeah. He's like, well, he hasn't told me no, but him not answering calls is a no. And so without a conversation, without a gosh, you know, hey, I found this problem or that, he did the ghost. Yeah, and so that Monday night. So here's entrepreneur life, right? So I have to pay my insurance or shut down the company. We don't have enough. I've gone without salary for who knows how long. Mark's done it as well, trying to just make this happen, right? So it's that Monday night. It's raining. Remember, we actually had a rain. Yeah, that January. Okay,
that day, right?
So I've just spent. I've tried everything. I've called everyone. I've sent every Hail Mary pass to every conversation I've had, and people, they're just like, yeah, get a lead and I'm in. Get a lead investor and I'm in. Get a lead investor, and I just couldn't get that person to take the lead on this. So I just pass out from exhaustion. Wake up at 1 a.m. pouring sweat. You know, just up in bed. Oh no. Tomorrow I have to shut down my company. Oh, just pouring sweat. So I'm just like, okay, I'm not sleeping. Mm-hmm. So I end up, I go out on my deck. It's covered in a robe and everything. It's pouring rain, and I just cry. I just cry. And I end up writing this letter. It was a really sad letter. You know, just like, I'm sorry I couldn't raise the money. I mean, just as a
letter for to your team, kind of explaining.
To my team, to the community, to everyone. Just, I mean, you zoomed out.
Yeah, sure, right.
You know,
well, you've been so emotionally tied to it for those 6-8 months trying to make it work.
You know, because it's not just a business. You know, it's not just, you fight so hard, your investors believed in you, right? You've asked these money. You stand in front of people and you ask, please trust in me. You know, here's this business. We want to make it work, right? And so, you're putting your personal name on this, right? You go to the community and you say, believe in us, right? Believe in us, you know, take a chance on the startup, work with us as we go through the challenge of starting out. We have drivers, you know, the drivers there, you know, we say, believe in us, you know, take your time, pass out cards, grow the business, help us out, right? So all these people believed in us, and I stood up and asked them to believe in us. And now I have to say, gosh, my job was to raise money. That was my job. There's nobody else. That was my job, and I didn't close it. Sure. I didn't do it, and so that was just on a personal level. Oh, just so hard. But when you when you try for something big, you know, sometimes it doesn't hit. So I write this letter, and you know, I have to go in the next day to let my employees go. Have to tell them it's done. I'm very transparent. I think you can tell that. But I mean, you know, so I've been very communicative. The employees know what we're under. They, you know, they know the challenges we're facing, and that, you know, this deal wasn't necessarily done. They knew we were hoping for something. So I go in. I have to, you know, I gather everyone. All right, guys. So I wasn't able to do it. You know, we didn't do it. We have to shut down today. And there were tears. But what I was so proud of, absolutely so proud of, is my team. Everyone's there and they're like, all right, what has to be done? And everyone we get the whiteboard out, we go, these are the steps we have to do to properly shut down the company. These are things, this is what we need to do. And they're like, okay. And I was a mess that day. I was a bulldozer until then. And that day I was operating like, I was just like, and everyone else, they're like, we got you, Cassandra. And they, you know, they took the different jobs and they did what needed to be done and got the communications out to the customers and called our regular customers, because we had some seniors that they counted on us for their rides, for their safe rides on a regular basis, teens. And so we called our regular customers just to let them know. So anyway, so we got all of that done. And then the next day, so the employees, that was the last day I could afford to pay them. And so then the next day they came back to the office, no pay, said, Cassandra and Mark, what can we do? We don't want to leave all this office cleanup and everything to you. And they came back just to help us, because, I mean, you build like a family. And so I was just so proud. I mean, so proud of the team I have built, because they're fantastic.
That's amazing. Wow.
Yeah.
Questions? Here.
Cassandra, how did you keep the morale up with your people while you're trying to find the money? They must have known what you were going through.
Yeah, hired some awesome people, really awesome people that believed in the mission and the vision, and we had a culture of, we knew we were fighting against, I was like, fighting against the beast. We knew that going in, and so my management style is transparent, open. I coach. I let people know when they're doing right and when they can do better. And I think the transparency and also the passion. If the leader doesn't have the passion, what do they follow? But as you can tell, I'm a little passionate, and they just worked. Everyone believed in the vision and the mission of the company, and were willing to fight to the very, very end for it as well. So, speaking of ends, so it's like, okay, so you shut down operations, then what? Right? Then what? So now we have all these assets. We have investors who have shares in the company. We have all of these assets, and what do? So people start calling. So, what are you guys doing with the brand? What are you doing with the software you developed? Is there a chance to restart it? So that's where I am right now, is considering a lot of options. We have people interested in buying the assets to do something slightly different, to do the exact same thing, to...
Do you have to unwind? So the folks that invested, I'm not sure what their term sheet said, but do you then, upon closing the business, have to refund their investment or a portion of it, or
no. When you invest in a startup, you're taking a risk. You're putting, betting on black, right? It's really betting on 32, but but it's but they know this is a high risk, early stage technology, consumer focused startup. They know that when they get in, and you tell them, this is very high risk. This is very high risk. This is very high risk. No matter how bad I wanted to make it work, they know that when they make the investment, that they could lose everything, and you tell them that over and over again. Yes.
So it sounds to me like you're up against nearly impossible odds to begin with, to raise the money. But despite that, you nearly succeeded. I mean, you were so close. Looking back, is there anything that you wish you would have done differently, or things that you might have learned that would have caused you to do something differently in the future that might have helped your cause?
Yes. So I learned a lot of technical things about structure of company, about the cap table, about who's on the cap table and how to do that. And so there are some things I would have done differently in terms of when all that stuff went down with the original founder. I would have been more aggressive in protecting the company. And there were things I could have done that would have taken away some of the barriers to the investors coming on. So, but I didn't know about these options until after the fact. And so, gosh, like I said, the lessons I've learned. I also would have considered and done my diligence on crowdfunding earlier. The crowd loves us. Absolutely loves us. I mean,
I think so,
I mean, there's Jolynn. Jolynn's one of our biggest fans.
I think one of your first adopters.
But she, I mean, if you look at social media,
you didn't have $10 million, Jolynn?
Today.
She's working on it. She's working on it. Yeah. So, here I'll share a stat just on one of the successes of this. So, we did a customer survey to be able to find out on our driver side or our rider side, to prove to the investors, like, we're doing amazing things here. So I knew our customers loved us, right? I knew this, but how could I prove it? Well, let's do a survey. Let's do the data. And so you guys familiar with the NPS score, a Net Promoter Score? Yeah, okay. I mean, this is industry standard to gauge how you're doing with your customer, right? So Uber and Lyft, they have NPS scores that are published. The most recent ones that I found were from like 2015 that I had seen. And Uber, that was before delete Uber and all that stuff. They had an NPS score of about 35. And back then, I know Lyft's has to be more now, but it was like a 6, right? And it's a scale of minus 100 to 100. And it's a one-question survey that says, what is the likelihood of you referring someone, to this business, basically, right? So, and there's a score from 0 to 10, and you score it, and you find out, and you're able to get your Net Promoter Score. So we did the survey with our drivers, and got our Net Promoter Score. So we got Lyft's at 6. I'm sure they're more. I'm sure they're like 35 now. And, you know, and Uber, but that's where they are. And then some of the most beloved brands in the world, the highest ones that I've seen, are somewhere in the 70s and 80s. That's like the most beloved brands in the world. So, CJ and Go, what's our Net Promoter Score? Our drivers was 87.
Wow. Jeez.
87.
That's amazing.
You know, and then our riders, it was 75, and that was because of, we still had some technical stuff and, you know, whatever, but still 75 is a great Net Promoter Score. So, you know, we were onto something to be able to have that, you know, and but just timing is incredible, and some of the circumstances that'll just is just really hard. But that's one of the things I'm proud of, though.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Julie?
I was going to ask, in addition to that question, one, if you would have accepted the CEO position at that time that was originally offered to you, do you think that you would have been in a better position to protect the company?
Good question.
I know you probably never know, but what does your gut say?
Maybe. I'm not sure, because there were things that I still didn't know then in terms of the legal maneuverings that I could have done to protect the company. I still didn't have that knowledge if I was COO or COO. CEO or anyways, I still didn't have that particular of those legal maneuverings in that type of situation. But I, you know, probably if I had that different hat on, I probably would have more focused on that particular problem and how do I protect the company, because how do I operate the company? You know, I mean, you have your hat and you have your focus. So that's an interesting question. I'm not quite sure though. Yeah.
An offline conversation. My second question, I'm sorry, to that really quick. You're talking about the assets that you're looking at and people are interested in purchasing or distributing. Are any of the current or past investors interested in purchasing some of those assets to keep it going or to rebrand it?
No, they were so just exhausted. I think you could see of the ride that we went on, and they're not sure that we could attract the money, right? You know, just not sure.
What about any of the VCs you approached? Are they the ones that are now coming?
Yeah. So the people who are in a shark-like manner.
I know how that works.
Yeah, I mean it is business. That's right. So there's a group of just very you know, one of the groups is just really good people that want to be able to continue the mission. That I'm excited about the opportunity of them taking that, and you know, I could possibly be involved in that, or possibly not. Either way, we'll see what happens. But
so what you're saying is there's hope.
There's some hope, but always with everything, there's technical challenges, and then there's just reality challenges as well.
The financial side too. All right, Teresa.
Just really a comment. First of all, I think your name is brilliant. CJ Go. I love it. And I am in Orange County, and I had heard that there was a company, Women Driving Women, and I love that concept because I've taken Uber probably six times. I will not take Uber again. I had one female driver, which was wonderful, perfect, everything was great. Every other driver, I was uncomfortable. In fact, I even at one time got out early because I didn't want this driver to know where I lived.
Oh,
Yep.
wow.
Yep,
So
we heard this all the time.
I was picked up at UCI and brought to another location, and then I stayed there and I said, "Oh, my husband's getting off work early. He's going to come pick me up. Thank you," because I did not want him to know my address. So I can say, on a personal level, I'm not a teen. I guess I'm headed toward the senior, but I think there's just a huge market for just women.
Yeah.
And one of the things someone had told me was, as a single woman, always sit in the back seat. I never thought about that, but I told both my daughters that. And another concerning thing is, you know, a lot of these college students and young adults will take Uber when they go out to celebrate in the evening, and there's drinking involved. And do I want my 28 or 25-year-old daughter, bless you, getting in a car, with a couple of her girlfriends? It is frightening.
It's frightening.
It is frightening. So I am a huge fan. Just know that.
Oh, well, thank you so much. Want to know how we came up with the name?
How?
Yeah.
Cinco de Mayo, margaritas and nachos, and 6 ladies around a table because we couldn't come up with a name for anything. But man, it was the margaritas.
That's great.
Yeah. So,
it's perfect.
Anyways, you had a question.
No, I think it's a phenomenal concept, and having kids that are two daughters and going through that whole exercise, because even when I've worked and they needed a ride and the choice was either wait or you're sitting there having that mental debate, you know.
Right.
And so I think college kids, seeing when I started university, they created their own little infrastructure where it's students driving students that they didn't bring.
And that's what I did see. Is that we had to do a few more things for the technology to take advantage of it. But I saw it's like college seniors, because you have to be at least 21 to drive. That the college seniors could be or the grad students could be driving around, the freshmen and everything as they're going to their stuff, because they're all right there so close to each other, and they could just get there, have a few of their regular.
And they know the route, they know the area pretty well.
And just go handle it. So I completely agree with that basically small little ecosystem feeding each other to be able to help each other. And students need to make extra money.
Yeah, exactly.
But
all right, so bring. Oh, sorry, Jeff.
Just one question about the competition, because I could see. I'm wondering what your conversation was with the people that were investing. Was it that Uber will crush you because of your size, or that they would come out with a line extension?
Right. So
what was that discussion like?
The fear of the investors was that if we started getting traction, that and starting to grow and take markets, that they would go and put a female only button or do a Uber Pink or something like that to compete with us. And then my argument back was, well, but we've already figured out the model, so why don't they just buy us? Right? And just let us continue and take their resources to be able to take a bigger part of the market. And it would also give them a chance to be able to, because this is a beloved brand, and they have a challenge with females. So, to be able to go, what, we really want to help the females, let's do this. It could be a nice PR move too.
Yeah.
But
it's still, this company, the way they think is just, they should come up with that themselves.
Yeah.
And the fact that they did not come up, it's really explained this organization.
And the issue now for them is, if they did that now, it would just be seen as a PR stunt. It wouldn't be seen as a legitimate, genuine commitment to it. It's kind of like, well, how can we fix our problem with sexual harassment? Let's start a women, version.
Yeah.
It's interesting,
So it's
because
the brand, I think, would be an issue.
officer, if you guys have seen
Right,
her,
yeah.
who is a powerhouse and a woman. And
Right, yeah.
So they're kind of already, she joined for, if you read the article, she joined for all the right reasons.
Right, yeah.
But that, in a sense, is already that PR move. And, she's
Exactly.
African American, diversity in women, so they're really taking that approach.
Well,
I
but
agree.
it starts at the top. To the board's credit, they put someone who I think is an excellent guy at the top who is working to change the culture. But it starts at the top, and it takes a long time.
Right,
So it's as much as they have a ways to go. They're making the right moves by putting in the leadership that can change the culture, and from there, they'll be okay.
So,
So when I hear you and I see the business that you have, in general, your life mission will be probably to help women thrive in the environment and being safe. So there's a lot of business that you could open towards that main mission, correct?
And so my personal life mission, it's slightly different. It's actually for people, is breaking down the barriers for people to access income, not necessarily jobs, but income and steady growing income. And so, I want to be able to focus on in the gig or the sharing economy or the freelance economy, whatever you want to call it, and help to bring down the barriers and make it where it's not just the platforms making money off of all these people's efforts, that they're able to build a base of business, of regular recurring business, that maybe they don't have a shop, but they provide a service, and that they can get their regular customers and be able to benefit from what they bring to the platform. And so I think the current model as it is developed is very focused on the benefit of the corporation, and I think that there's a bit more balance that needs to happen because it's the individuals that are making these, that they're the ones building these platforms, you know, the companies are providing the technology. So I want to be able to focus on breaking down those barriers where there's more of an equal sharing of the opportunity.
So you started off by talking about problem solving, right? The first couple of companies that you built, and you couldn't ask for a better case study in trying to problem solve than what you described. Yeah. So how has this affected your leadership approach going forward?
Leadership approach going forward. Well, it's reaffirmed my commitment. As much as there was a miss, there was a huge hit on, you know, reaffirmed that being kind, focusing on solving problems and a balanced thing, it works. It does work. I've seen it in so many ways. And so my leadership style is that of inclusion and openness and improving other people. And it's just reaffirmed that that's the way you do it. And that when you do things the right way and when people know, from this brand, they felt the brand. They felt it. They knew this was something different than the other one. The other ones. And so when you do it right and you treat people right, you could get where you need to go.
And they come back the day after for no pay to help clean things up.
Right.
That loyalty is there. Yeah,
right.
That commitment, that passion. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's just reaffirmed. Yep. I'm nice.
There's a reason for being nice. Yeah, exactly.
And I'll stay that way. So there's sharks out there that I just have to sharpen my teeth a little when I'm around them. But overall, I'm allowed to stay nice.
All right, any last questions before we wrap up? All right. Well, please join me in thanking our speaker, Cassandra.